If you had a magic wand, what would the ideal, perfect life look like in the next 10 years? Hey, welcome back to the Success and Significance Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Newman. I am super stoked for you to be able to hang out with us today. In true fashion, we're just going to jump right in because I honor you and I honor your time. So we're going to dive into this topic of today, which is if you had a magic wand, what would the ideal, perfect life look like in the next 10 years? Now, hear me. I know that there is no such thing as a perfect life. But listen, we're in the dream phase of what we're trying to talk about. And so there's an exercise that I do probably once a year, sometimes two, depending on how fast-paced that my year is going. And the exercise is called Stop, Start, Continue. So I've been doing this exercise probably for the last 6 years, and it has helped me identify some key ingredients in my life that I really need to continue to do, that I need to stop doing, and that I need to start doing to get the life that I truly want to live. So really quick, what I want you to do is I want you to just stop and imagine what 10 years from now looks like. And what I mean by that is like, how old will you be? Also, if you have family, if you have kids, how old will your kids be? What do you want your job to look like in the next 10 years? Also, the thing is like, do you want to buy a new house? Do you want to have a lake house? What are some of the things that looks like a perfect life in the next 10 years? And so I need you to take a few minutes. Those are some of the prompts that I use. So it's how old will you be, your kids, your wife, your spouse, what location, where do you want to be living? And then another is, do you want to be financially free? And so when I ask that question, I think I already know the answer. And if you don't want to be financially free, send me an email and I can help you with that, because the whole premise of this podcast is to be financially free with success to pour out significance. So with this exercise, consider those couple of things. So take a few minutes. If you have to press pause, press pause. I have done this. And so one of the things is, so if I were to do it right now in 10 years, so I turn 42 in a few days. So I will be 52 in 10 years. My daughter will be 20 years old, which is freaking crazy. My wife will be getting ready to turn 50, and my son will be getting ready to graduate high school. So with that just alone, with the family side of it, put that into perspective, saying that I'm 50. I remember when I was younger and I was like, man, like 30 is old. 30 is definitely not old anymore. So I would be 50. The location, I want to have a lake house. I want to have a regular house. And so those are the ideal locations. And the lake house, like I would love to be able to host my family there. They can bring some of their friends there. I would do a lot of writing there. I do a lot of reading, just somewhere that I can have to be able to disconnect. And then the other thing is the financial freedom side of it. Yes, I will still be working at Rock Solid Foundation, but I will also be doing more of this, more of the podcasting, more of the writing, more of the speaking. So I write all this stuff down. So then now what that creates is a roadmap. It is a roadmap for you to look at. And then every year you go back to constantly evaluate it. Are you close or are you further away? And so if you're close, then that's great. Identify the things that help you stay close to your goals. And if you're far away, you need to identify what are some of those things that you need to stop doing to get you back on track for the goals. So we'll dive right into it. The first one, reflect on some behaviors that you are doing right now that you need to stop doing to be able to get to the goals that you want to get to. So for me right now, I enjoy, man, it's been the sweet season, right? We just came out of like a bunch of cookies and a lot of candies. So for me, I need to stay away. I need to stop doing the sweets. Why? Because I want to be 50, 60, 70 years old and I want a healthy lifestyle. And it's different if you're sitting or if you're listening and you're like, yep, I want a healthy lifestyle. And that's part of your culture and that's part of your DNA. And you're sitting on the couch and you're eating chips and cookies every single day. Guess what? That's not a part of your lifestyle. And that's just part of what you're saying because the world says you're supposed to do it. But something has to internally click so that what is it that you need to stop doing? So for me, I need to stop eating a bunch of the sweets. Another thing that I need to stop doing, or a couple of examples that maybe you're struggling with too, to get the ideal life that you want. Maybe you're a procrastinator. Maybe you're like, hey, I was going to send this email, or hey, I was going to send this resume over to someone, or I was going to actually purchase that business. But you know what? I'm just going to wait. Or maybe you're in one of the housing situations and there's a procrastination about purchasing that house because the interest rates are higher. Now, this is not a financial podcast. I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do with the interest rates. But what are some of the things that you need to stop doing to get the life that you want? So procrastination is a big one. Some of my kids, they start to procrastinate things. And I'm like, do not wait till the last minute. Why do you not wait till the last minute? Because you rush through things. This is not mind-blowing stuff, but these are a couple things that you can identify that you need to stop doing to be able to accomplish the things that you wrote down on that 10-year target. Another thing is negative self-talk. I am 1000% guilty of that. The imposter syndrome. So for me to become a speaker, for me to even host this podcast, for me to become a writer, which I'm in the process of becoming right now, I have to stop that negative talk. I was just sharing with Frames, the guy that helps produce all of this. I gave a speech at a high school graduation, and I felt like an imposter, man. Like I didn't feel like I was a distinguished guest. And so I started all this negative talk in my head. And so the difference here is, and this is one of my mentors, he has told me this time and time again, you need to stop listening to yourself and you need to start talking to yourself. Because if you have thoughts inside of your head, you need to get those out and you need to talk positive to yourself. And the world is full of a bunch of like negativity right now. And a lot of it is stemming from social media. You see someone out there, you're stuck in the home with a sick kid, or you're stuck in the office sending more emails, and you see a couple other people that are out there and they're living their best life on their boat or at the beach. And so you start to talk to yourself like, man, I'm never going to get there. There's no way that I'm ever going to be able to save up enough money to buy that house. There's no way that I'm ever going to be able to get a six-pack by the time that I'm 50. And listen, that's one of my goals. So I just put it out there. So hopefully you all will help hold me accountable. It's like, I want a six-pack. Never had a six-pack. I mean, there's one there, but it's not showing. So I want one that can be visually seen. So I got to stop saying like, I'll never, ever. And that's the part of it, is like the negative self-talk has to stop so that you can get to that ideal 10-year target that you wrote down. A couple other things is overcommitting. One thing for me is overcommitting to things. Have you ever said yes to something and then you immediately regret it? I just did it probably 45 minutes ago. And right, so someone calls you, maybe a salesperson or somebody reaches out to you and you're like, yes, I'm going to go for it. And then you immediately regret that situation. One thing that I have started to do, because I need to stop overcommitting my time. Why? Because Fridays I try to protect myself to where that's my creative day, if you can have one. That's where I write my speeches. That's where I work on the podcast. And that's where I have to protect that time. Well, every time I say yes to something that is not a priority on my 10-year target, I'm saying no to my 10-year target. And that has to stop. So are you overcommitting yourself? That's another way that you can stop doing something to make sure you get the life that you want. All right. The next part of it is, that one was a little negative, a little bit heavy. So this part is the activation. The next question is, what do you need to start doing to have the ideal life, the life that you want? What do you need to start doing to be able to hit that 10-year target? So another thing that I think is super important is I do 7 healthy habits every day. I'm not going to jump into that right now. There'll be another podcast episode on what they are and how you create your healthy habits, but you need to cultivate healthy habits. And what I mean by that is something that is easily accomplished that you will do every single day to start help building momentum. So one example that I'll give you is that I make my bed every single day. And I do that because some of the days are long. Some of the days I get my butt kicked. And I also heard an admiral give a phenomenal speech on YouTube probably about 10 years ago. And I finally just started making my bed every single day the last 2 years because I feel like I have won something from the very moment that I open my eyes. And right before I close my eyes for the day, it is a healthy habit to where I come and unmake the bed. It is my reward. It is my prize, even if I've had the worst day possible. So what are some of the things you need to start doing? Start is a very, very great place, but you have to do it. You have to activate. You can't just write it on the piece of paper. You have to start moving forward. So one of the things that you can start doing is to set clear goals. That's why at the very beginning of this podcast, we started by like, hey, listen, press pause, write down these things. And that ideal life is now a target, which then turns that target into a goal. And then from there, you have to build the habits around the goals to be able to hit them. So setting clear goals, SMART. What is it? It's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So if you just say, I want to lose weight, that's not a SMART goal. If you want to lose 10 pounds, that is a SMART-ish goal. But what if you want to lose 10 pounds by June? That is a SMART goal. Why? Because it has a time associated with it. Another thing that I have started doing, which may help you to be able to hit that 10-year target, is that I practice gratitude. And what that means by, like, you'll never see me without a journal. And I try to write down, I call it my 5PT, my 5 positive things that I write down every single morning to just be grateful. Because a lot of times I feel like, what is it, the Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And there's a lot of mornings, probably more often, is I feel like I've been punched in the face by Mike Tyson. And I'm like, but having these clear goals written down and then practicing gratitude. Like this morning I wrote, I was grateful for the amazing weekend. As much as I love baseball, we didn't have any baseball. So we were able to hang out by the pool. I was able to cook my family breakfast. I was able to give my daughter a kiss goodbye because she's on summer break. So I was able to see her. And I also walked into a super clean warehouse that looked amazing. So that was another 5 positive things that I think can truly help you, is by practicing gratitude. The next thing that I would encourage you to start doing is investing into yourself. And what I mean by that, if you're listening to this podcast, you're investing into yourself. I think you can see probably a few books behind me. The way that I invest in myself, that I don't have to afford the $10,000 an hour coach, is I read books. I watch YouTube videos. And reading is the best thing that you can do, or listen to it. If you're trying to be healthy, get on the treadmill and listen to a book. I'm telling you, by you investing into yourself is the best thing that you need to start doing, because no one else is going to invest into you unless they see you investing into yourself. And so I promise you, it's a start movement to get the ball moving. But once you start moving the ball forward, it makes a huge difference. So a couple things: start doing, setting clear goals, practicing gratitude, and investing in personal development. The next part of the start, stop, continue is the continue part. So what do you need to continue doing that you've been doing that you think that you're moving forward to your goals? So if you've been running 2 days a week, continue doing that. But how can you increase? Maybe it's 3 days a week, or maybe it's running from 2 miles to 2.5 miles. Like, listen, I'm a dreamer. I'm like, I'm going to go run a marathon. But I think that I could probably go out right now and accomplish a marathon. Now, would I set any records? No. Would I be able to walk for 4 days after? Probably not. Would I embarrass myself? Yes. But I would still be able to do that. But for the continue aspect of it, this is where you have to evaluate what are the things that are working in your life that you need to just continue to do, or you need to invest in a little bit more to push the pedal or the throttle down. So the continue side, acknowledge where you've been successful. So for us, like, it's been a long time coming that this is, I think, our 10th or 11th episode that we've recorded. So I need to be more consistent, and I need to continue to be consistent at protecting my Fridays. Why? Because my Fridays get me here. My Fridays help me prepare for what I'm looking for. So I need to continue to protect my Fridays. Another good example is spending quality time with your loved ones. Listen, I know not all of you have kids, not all of you have wives or spouses or significant others, but if you got a parent out there, they can still call you. Or if you have a guardian that somebody is taking care of you, or there is someone out there that has invested into you, continue to spend more time with them. Why? Because I promise you, I am that old guy saying time flies. But man, for me, what I am starting to find true is that my kids are 8 and 10 now. In 10 years from now, daddy will have enough time to be able to work on this podcast or to travel the world. Listen, what I do in this world is considered pretty neat, and it's a good goal, right? It's a good thing to work towards. But I'll tell you a little secret that I landed on a couple years ago. That my kids will not care how many play sets daddy builds if daddy's not there to play with them. And so I know like the fight of success is square right in front of your face. And that's sometimes all you can see if you're working 80 hours a week. Take a step back and evaluate and start spending more time with the people that you care. Another thing that I'm going to continue to do is I'm going to continue to read, I'm going to continue to lead, and I'm going to continue to find a mentor. So it doesn't matter if I'm 50, 60, 70 years old, and if there's someone there that is one page ahead of me, then I'm going to ask for some sort of wisdom and some sort of advice. Listen, they don't have to have the whole book written, but it is a lot better if you can find a mentor that may be one page ahead of you, which then that becomes iron sharpening iron. So you need to start. What do you need to start doing? What do you need to stop doing? And what do you need to continue to do to be able to hit the goals that you are looking to achieve and that you just wrote down for the next 10 years? So why is this important? The reason it's important is that it's a distracting world. And if you don't identify where you want to be in 10 years from now, 10 years is a big chunk of change. Strategy plans, all of that stuff. Depending on which book that you read, they're like, oh, the world's changing so fast, you can't plan 10 years in advance. I agree that you can't put the fine detail of 10 years in advance. But man, if you throw some colors up onto the wall, and then the next 10 years, those colors are like the big chunks of your life. And then over the next 10 years, you start to identify and hone in and start creating that masterpiece. I promise you, it's the intentionality that will help you hone in the detail and create the life that you want. So it's super important to be able to just plan it. The other aspect of it is your external factors of your life dictate what happens inside your heart, what happens inside of your mind. And you need to figure out who you need to start hanging out with, who you need to stop hanging out with, and who do you need to continue to hang out with? Because people, I forget the saying, but give me 5 of your friends and you're right slap dab in the middle. I find that to be true. So if you're around someone right now and they're not good for you, if you leave them and they're not making you feel good, and it's not all about feeling good, but if they don't speak life into you, stop hanging out with them. Some of you all have been hanging out with your buddies since high school, which is great. But anytime that you leave there and you hang out with them, you're hungover for like 3 days after, then maybe it's ideal if you were to disappear for 6 months. And when I mean disappear, like you write your 10-year target, you write a list of what you need to start, stop, and continue to do. And you do that for 6 months. I guarantee that you will be better and that you can go back to your buddies that you've been hanging out with your whole life, and they're going to be right where they are. And that's not me hating on your buddies. But the only person that can dictate this journey is you. And I promise you, I believe in this. I've been doing this exercise for the last 5 years, and I appreciate you just spending some time with me. But I encourage you to go back, hit some pause buttons, and write down, get your journal out, write down these questions, create your 10-year target, and then what do you need to start doing? What do you need to stop doing? And what do you need to continue to do to get the life that you want? So that's all I got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. I enjoy it. I love spending time just diving into the things that have helped me, and I truly hope that they help you. So I'm your host, Eric Newman, on the Success and Significance podcast. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review. Why? Because that helps people find this podcast, and it will help more people live for success to pour out significance. We'll talk with you soon.